Hello and welcome to today's painting tutorial. So it's a midweek painting tutorial, hooray! We are painting a 28mm face. So that's going to include the eyes as well as, trying to give a bit of detail in those facial features. So this was part of the 28mm Arnhem Heroes Kickstarter painting guide that I did recently. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I paint faces on my 28mm models. So to start off with, all of my models, regardless of whatever scale they're at, if I'm painting Caucasian flesh, I'm going to use light flesh. Now obviously this tutorial is going to focus on the Caucasian flesh tone. If you want me to look at other sort of flesh tones that are out there, then you just let me know in the comments and we can try and get a video out on there. So starting off with this, I'm just obviously painting in the whole of the face here, as well as if I'm doing the hands, etc. Now, I'm primarily a small scale painter. I know I do a lot of 28mm on the channel, but I very rarely actually paint many 28mm figures. I'm a lot more 172 and 50mm scaled. So this is a little bit different for me in terms of the idea we need to put on the face. So now we can move on and give that light flesh a wash. So we use Flesh Wash from Vallejo for that one. It's obviously like a pink sort of wash, red wash. This is giving you that really dark red shadow colour, which is going to be great for being in the recess, so inside of the ear, around the noses, in the eye sockets, etc. Now talking about those eye sockets, we want to go ahead and paint those white to start off with. So we're painting a vertical line, horizontal, depends what angle you're looking at. We're painting a line where the eye socket would be. And you can see he just looks a bit possessed. That's fine. Now we need to go ahead and paint the pupil. So for painting the pupil, I use black. You don't want to use a dark grey, just use black, make it as dark as possible, and then you just want to add in a nice vertical line if we're looking at it from this angle. But you can see that I put a bit too much paint on my paintbrush tip, so I'm going to get a bit of water on there as quickly as I can and just remove it and see how quickly that comes off. Now because that's off and it's drying, I can now focus on trying to get the other eye correct. And this is a trial and error. You will make a few mistakes. You might want to get a finer tip with less hairs. But you can see I've got a nice vertical line there. I'm adding another vertical line here with less paint on the tip of the brush. And I'm just making sure he looks a bit like a snake, which he does. I'm trying to get him in the roughly the same sort of area. If you want him to look into the side, etc., you can do that as well. Now to tidy that up, I'm using base flesh, and base flesh is a bit browner than that light flesh, and it's going to add like some nice details underneath the eyes, as if he's got like eye bags or a bit of darkness around those eyes, which is obviously what they would have. So I'm using that just on the top of the eye and the bottom of the eye. If you add a bit too much white, you can tidy up using this method, and a bit too much black, obviously you do the same. So you can see that that first eye is looking quite good. Now we can go ahead and touch up the other eye. Painting eyes at this scale really is personal preference. At 28mm, you're never going to see eyes in real life. So yeah, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and do this. It's a nice little thing to do. So for the nose and the rest of the face, I go back over with that initial colour. So we're using light flesh to start off with. So you can see that I've painted the nose and the chin. And look how dark that colour has, that base colour's become after putting in that wash. So now I'm painting up the majority of the face again, but leaving that base colour in the dark recesses. So between the lips, around the eyes, and the nose. You can see I'm painting the eyebrows here. I'm going to paint the top of the forehead as well. And I'm going to add in some details underneath the eye there. Now I'm painting in majority of that side of the face and the cheek. And then you can just slowly work it in. Hit the tip of the ears there, and he's starting to take shape now. Now you can just see that even with just this, if you want to just leave it at this, you could do. You're not going to have much definition in those facial features. This is a Paul Hicks model, so it's got lots of details. So you want to try and capture those if you can. And then with the hand, it's the exact same process. I mean, these figures even have like veins that you can see coming out the top of the hand. Well, not veins, but like the tendons. So yeah, they're really well sculpted for a 28mm figure. So if you can try to sort of capture those details subtly, because it's all about subtle highlights with flesh. Unfortunately, it's not something you just throw a really light colour on and it will look good. It just doesn't. It looks silly. So you have to subtly build up to those really bright highlight colours. So you can see that I'm really taking my time. And once I've got all that down, I can then go ahead and hit it with light flesh and highlight flesh at a 2-to-1 ratio. Now, flesh painting is all about the mixtures. You want to just slowly mix into that bright colour. So you keep using that base colour and you add in a bit of a highlight colour. You can see now I'm painting the exact same areas as what I did before, but the surface area that I'm painting is a bit more reduced. So I'm painting just underneath the eyes there. You can see that I didn't really add too much. I captured the eyebrows, as you can see there, at the very, very top of the forehead where it meets the beret. I painted the actual cheek bone along the side. Now that's something that you probably wouldn't ordinarily do, but at this scale I think it actually makes the face stand out just a little bit more, and it really highlights the neck area too. So that's what I like to do. Some people will probably say that's really not correct, but it's whatever works for you. So you can see now that I'm also just painting a bit of that neck. I've also painted the very tip of the ears, and I'm just slowly working in. So there's very little paint on that paintbrush, adding in those fingers there, little details. And you can see that I'm going to start trying to pick out those tendons there. So there's just a few little tendons. I try and add in a bit more of the colour around where the knuckles would be, just to break it up so it's not just little lines everywhere. And then because he's got his hand in a sort of fist behind him, this is relatively straightforward to paint. You're only really having to capture the actual fingers opposed to the whole hand. Now painting knees and elbows and stuff is a little bit different, but it's the same sort of process. So I can do one of those later. I've got some Rhodesians that are going to be coming up. If you want to see the flesh of those of the Rhodesian light infantry, because they're just wearing pretty much nothing other than short shorts, then let me know and we can really get into it on that one. Then light flesh and highlight flesh at a 1-to-1 ratio. So you can see that I'm building up to that highlight colour, which is pretty much going to be it here. It's really bright now, so it's becoming really light. So I'm just adding a very small amount, a little tiny bit underneath the eye there, a little tiny bit on the cheek, and the cheekbone, where the eyebrows are. And you might even look at this guy, it's probably a bit too pale, but that's fine, you can mix it up. This is a great thing about flesh, you don't have to make them all exact same sort of colour. They can be a bit more tan, a bit more pale. I'm certainly very pale as a person, so this is probably looking a bit more like what I would look like. And you can see he looks quite grumpy. That's a credit to Paul Hicks and his facial expressions, but also the way that it's painted. You can see it's even just the way you highlight the nose, you can really make that nose stand out a little bit more. So sorry that it's lost a bit of focus there, but you get the gist. It's all about minimizing the amount of areas that you're painting, but highlighting those really raised edges, picking out those important parts of the face. And then when it comes into focus, it should look something similar to this. So you can see that's a really, really simple, straightforward method of painting flesh. But you can glaze it with the original base colour. If you're looking at him going, ooh, he's a bit too pale, it doesn't look right, the highlights are too strong. So get some light flesh and get some water. You want about 1 part to 10 parts water. So it's a really, really runny consistency. It's a wash, it's a glaze. So this should just be tinting. It is a method that you will learn to master really easily. I'm still not 100% with it, but just practice on a few models first before doing it, and then it can just subtly hide those really bright colours. You can see that that's subtly hidden it. We'll probably put a bit too much paint opposed to water in that, but it's subtly hidden them. In person it looks actually a lot better as well. So there we go, that's how I paint flesh. I'm still not 100% with it, but this is how I do it at the moment. As I said, I'm a small scale painter, really, at heart. I love painting Warlord Games figures and other figures in that scale, but mastering facial painting is quite difficult, but you can make it really simple, especially for wargamers. We're not talking about scale models here, guys, we're talking about wargaming figures. So yeah, don't try and make it too complicated, enjoy the process and just have some fun. Thank you to my patrons and YouTube channel members for supporting videos like this one. You guys are absolutely awesome. Special mention goes to Patrick and Oscar for being those Panzer Aces. You guys are just superb. I'm going to leave it here, guys. Let me know if you want to see any other types of skin or facial painting tutorials in the future, and I will catch you at the next one.